What's up, guys? Today I want to break down my real pre-production process, not the overcomplicated film school version, but exactly how I do it step by step. So let's get into that. I want to preface this by saying that this isn't some perfect one-size-fits-all system. This is what works for me as a visual thinker who sucks ass at script writing. This has changed the way I thought about pre-production, and maybe it can for you as well. So let's get into how we come up with the ideas first. Ideas for me come from a lot of places, like music, dreams, random thoughts, scrolling through TikTok brainlessly. I'll be in the car sometimes zoning out and suddenly an idea will hit. But here's the thing. For me, ideas are just ideas. Unless you take action on it, they do absolutely nothing for you. So the first step is to get that idea out of there. Get it out of your head and put it somewhere you can see it visually or script it. Because if you don't do that, it just sits on the shelf and never happens. All right, so I have the idea in my head, right? And I need to get it out as fast as possible so I can execute the project, otherwise it just won't happen. You start in frame set. Well, I start in frame set personally. I really love frame set. So, I have an idea. I want to, let's say for my own content, I want to create a boxing film. So I go in here and I search boxing, right? And the idea is pretty broad and basic, but I already know I want it to be boxing. Right, so I'm killing already one bird, and that's the ideation part of like what this specific overall goal is, and that's boxing. For like a commercial, potentially, it might be, I don't know, running. So we're in here in boxing, we can hit space bar and it brings up the frame, and we're like, ooh, we really like this aesthetic of this guy boxing, right? It's got the tones I'm thinking of in my head. Like I want it to be warm. I want it to be darker and moodier with some nice contrast. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that frame and I'm just gonna go down. I think it's right click. You can go ahead and just click the little 3 dots and hit download. Now it's already on your computer. You can continue to scroll through frame set and find other images that might kind of have that same vibe. There's also like GIFs that you can see where you can get ideas of like cool animation or movements. But yeah, that's how it really starts. You just start collecting a pile of frames, right? And then that brings you to, let's go to the boxing spot. We'll go to mood board. So when I created the boxing thing, hands, we started with the mood board, and we knew we wanted, I knew and Cam knew we wanted specific things. Like the movie Nobody, I wanted the piece to have some time, some stuff with time, and how would we be able to tell the passage of time? Well, we started with the movie Nobody. If you've seen it, the opening scene is like a continuance of what his everyday looks like, and he just keeps grabbing, the keys, the alarm, and each shot of the snorri. So we started pulling frames from that. We started pulling really nice frames from Creed, and just overall kind of just kept thought dumping with frames. And once we had a bunch of frames that we really liked, and we had a simple concept of boxing, that concept started to develop over time after we saw the frames, other pieces, and just going back and forth. After we created the mood board, we then get the storyboard. So we start going, okay, this is how we want the story to go. This is kind of the idea in my head. Here's some of the frames I like. Let's break it down. We want the opening shot to be this cool frame of him sitting in the locker room, right? Well, then automatically that starts to spark idea. Here's the opening scene. Our subject's in a boxing clothes. We're thinking this shot is on sticks, so now we're talking about how it's on certain things, what the composition looks like, what the subject might look like, what the lighting might look like, what the tonality of the piece might look like, and why this open shot is important. The subject's processing thought before he proceeds to hit the locker with his fist. We have a shower scene, and then we cut to this scene in the locker room. He hits the fist, and it cuts to the house, and that's where our story takes place. We got the alarm clock, we got the waking up, and then now we start having the passage of time, and then it goes through that, and then it repeats on the passage of time. The importance of storyboarding here is once we get on set, we have to make sure that these specific shot ideas are executed. Everything else is just fluff and fun. So once these shots are executed and the idea is executed, then you just get in the edit, and the edit is literally this. Your editor is going to have a beautiful time creating something wonderful from this because it's already laid out for him. And now you're not going to miss or screw up your story or get in the edit and be like, shit, the whole thing is ruined. We have to go reshoot. We have to think about this and that. Like, to go get, more money, or the client's going to be upset. No, like if you hit these specific shots in your storyboard, it's going to look exactly like this. Obviously, you're not going to nail Hollywood references sometimes. I mean, you might be just that good, but for me, a reference is a reference. Like I want shoes. I want the top down of the shoes. I want the boxing hand. Like this is how I want my story to look and progress. And if you do that, it's going to be really hard to fail. After creating the storyboard, we then go into, we had a little color board, which I don't think is very important, but maybe if you're a colorist, that's important to you. We go into kind of notes and concepts of things we might need on set, logistics, gear list, logistics, general call time, checklist, cast and crew, roles and references. You can also have your scripts for your character, location scouting. This is where I was telling you how location scouting is vastly important. If we went to location scouted for this piece, hands would have not been good. It just wouldn't have. The story would have been fine, but it wouldn't have looked like the Chicago vibes. It wouldn't have looked like that old school boxer look. The locker room scene was an important one. The boxer gym was super important to bring this to life. And then just him outside running around, we didn't want it to look like Austin, Texas that much. So we really had to go and location scout and figure this out. And then we threw Sunseeker in here to really understand where the lighting was going to hit on those fronts, which was super helpful come the day because we knew how the lighting would be, right? So this is like the key for me because I actually suck at writing scripts. So in order to get the idea to start curating into a storyboard, I have to visualize it. I can't write it. Now that I have the mood board, I start piecing together the storyboard. Storyboarding for me isn't just about listing the shots linearly. It's about figuring out the emotional beats of the piece. Here's the things I think about. What's the opening shot? What's the last shot? What does the middle feel like? How does the piece need to move in pace? What is the overall feel of the piece? So even if you're doing a commercial or montage, having a clear beginning and an end will make your life a lot easier. The fourth step is location scouting and problem solving before set. This is a massive part of the pre-production process. The right location can elevate a film, while the wrong location, honestly, will fucking kill it. When I was filming Hands, we spent a ridiculous amount of time location scouting. I believe like 2 weeks CK and I spent on it. We used CAD Ridge to find compositions and lens choices we wanted to do and angles. We used Sunseeker to dictate where the light would fall, what time of day it would fall, because we knew half the piece was outside, and that would have been half the battle is fighting the sun. So here's the deal. If you're unprepared, you're just throwing darts in the dark. If your scene is supposed to be at sunrise and you go location scout at 2 p.m., guess what? You have no idea what that location actually looks like at the time you need to shoot it. That could be a problem. All right, last step in the process, I finalize my gear list. So these are things like what lens choices I need to bring. Is it anamorphic, 35 millimeters? Is it a vintage lens? What lighting setups might be required? Do I need special rigs like a SnorriCam gimbal? A huge mistake new filmmakers make is bringing every lens they own without knowing exactly why. But every lens choice should serve the story, the emotion, and the look. So think about that when you're picking lenses. For example, in Hands, we shot it all anamorphic to give it that cinematic impression and flare. Not just because we wanted it to look cool to have flares, which helped, but because it actually helped narrate the story. It actually created a feeling we were going for. And this is the bonus tip, the reality of pre-production versus the actual shoot. No matter how much you plan, you'll always have to pivot on set, so be prepared. I'd say like 30-40% of the time, there's a lot of adjusting happening on the fly. A good pre-production means you know how to put out these fires ahead of time. What's non-negotiable to the story and what's optional and can be taken out of the story. If you don't pre-production properly, odds are you'll waste hours setting up a badass shot, which will be cool for the piece, but then you realize the top-down shot doesn't even make the cut because it didn't serve the story. Filmmakers want to just pick up a camera and shoot. And I get it. I was one of those people who loved to run and gun, pan whips, gym shoots. Everything was always moving fast. Everything was a puzzle until I figured out pre-production and realized it was a game changer. If you want to level up, whether you're shooting commercials, music videos, or narrative work, pre-production is what separates pros from amateurs, and the best directors and cinematographers and editors will love working with you because you are prepared. I hope this helped. It took me forever to film it and get it right, but if you liked it, drop a comment below, hit subscribe. If you have any other questions about pre-production or want me to dive into something more, let me know. See you in the next one. Peace. So the way I storyboard my shit, I gotta stop looking at myself. Let me pop. Okay. Dude, I'm talking about pre-production. Let the people listen, dog. We don't know how to fucking YouTube. I give you pre-production.